Welcome back to the Anti-Cancer Lab. If you're new here, pull up a chair, you're in good company. This is where I read the cancer studies most people never see and tell you plainly what they mean for your plate. No fear, no hype. So grab a coffee and let's look at this together. Today's one is cheap, it's at any supermarket, and it actually holds up, mostly. I'll be careful with that word, mostly, because it's the honest part, and the honest part is the whole reason you keep coming back to me. We're talking about a deep purple-red root that a lot of folks over 60 grew up eating and then quietly stopped buying. And the question on the table is the one in that title. Does it really starve cancer cells? I'm going to give you the real answer, the parts that are exciting and the parts that aren't, and then I'm going to put it on your plate for tomorrow morning for about $1. Quick note before we start, because this matters more on this channel than any other. I'm Dr. Becker. I'm a researcher, not your doctor, and I have never had cancer or treated a single patient. Everything I'm about to tell you is me translating published studies for general education. None of it is medical advice, none of it replaces your oncologist or your treatment, and no vegetable in your kitchen is a cure. If you're in treatment right now, every single thing I say today goes alongside the people caring for you, never instead of them. Bring what's useful to your medical team and let them drive. All right, coffee in hand, let's get into it. I want to be careful here because I'm about to disagree with a popular headline. You've seen it, I've seen it. It floats across your screen in big block letters. Beets kill cancer, sometimes with a picture of a glowing red juice like it's a potion. And I understand why it spreads, because beets genuinely do have interesting chemistry in them, and I'm going to show you that chemistry in a minute, and it's real. But that headline, Beets kill cancer, takes a true, careful, modest little finding from a laboratory and inflates it into a promise it has no business making. And here's why I won't let it slide, even though correcting it cost me an easier video. When somebody believes that headline literally, two bad things can happen. They either get crushed when the beets don't do the miracle the headline sold them, or worse, in the back of their mind they start treating a vegetable like it's a treatment. And it is not a treatment. So let me do the harder, more useful thing. Let me tell you what's actually in this root, what the studies actually found, exactly how strong that evidence is and isn't, and why I still happily eat the thing most mornings anyway. Because the honest answer turns out to be more interesting than the headline. Let me tell you what a beet actually is, and what gives it that ridiculous color, because the color is the whole story today. You've held one. It's a roundish root, usually that dark blood-red purple, though there are golden ones and striped ones too. You cut into it and it bleeds this deep magenta that gets on everything. Your fingers, the cutting board, the wooden spoon, all of it goes pink-purple, and it does not want to come off. That stain is not just a nuisance. That stain is the chemistry walking right out in front of you. The pigments that make a beet that impossible deep red purple are called betalains. Say it with me, betalains, the pigments that give beets their color. And the main one, the star of the show, is called betanin, sometimes written betacyanin, which is just a specific red-purple betalain doing most of the work. So when your fingers go pink at the sink, that's betanin you're looking at. Hold on to that name, betanin, because nearly everything researchers find interesting about beets and cancer cells traces back to that pigment family. Here's my honest read of what those betalains actually do, and I'm going to give you the good news and the leash in the same breath. In the laboratory, betalains and beetroot extract have shown three things worth knowing. First, they're strong antioxidants, which is just a word for compounds that mop up the unstable, damaging molecules your cells throw off as part of normal living. The molecules that, over decades, chip away at your DNA. Second, they calm inflammation. They dial down some of the chemical messengers that drive the chronic, low, simmering inflammation that, over years, makes the body's soil friendlier for cancer to take hold. And third, the one that gets the headlines, in petri dish studies on several cancer cell lines, beetroot extract and betanin slowed the growth of those cancer cells, and in some of those dishes nudged the cells towards something called apoptosis. Let me translate that one right now, in the same breath, because it's the term the whole title rides on. Apoptosis is a cell's built-in self-destruct switch. Your healthy cells have it. They know when to die and step aside. Cancer cells, broadly speaking, are cells that have forgotten how to die, that ignore that off switch and just keep dividing. And in a dish, Betanin appears to nudge some cancer cells back toward pressing that self-destruct button. That is a real, published, repeatable observation. And now I have to hand you the leash. This is where I have to slow you down, because the distinction I'm about to draw is the entire ballgame on this channel. That self-destruct finding, that growth-slowing finding, almost all of it happened in vitro. Let me translate that too, in the same breath, because it's the most important phrase in the whole video. In vitro means done in a dish, in glass, on the bench, not in a person. It's cancer cells in a controlled little well, with beet extract dripped directly onto them at a concentration you could frankly never reach by eating beets at breakfast. And I want to be brutally honest with you, more honest than that headline ever will be. For beetroot specifically, and cancer in a living human being, the human evidence is essentially absent. Not weak, not mixed, essentially absent. We do not have the kind of human trials that would let me stand here and say beets do anything to cancer inside your body, and I am not going to pretend we do. Wait, let me say that even more carefully, because I owe you precision. There is real, interesting laboratory chemistry. There is essentially no human cancer outcome data for beetroot. Both of those things are true at the same time, and any honest person has to hold them both. The lab work earns the beet a place in the queue for more study. It does not earn it a place in that headline. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, so is this just another miracle food video Becker dressed up to look honest? Fair. That's a completely fair thing to be thinking. And no, it isn't. And I want to tell you exactly why it isn't. A miracle food video sells you the dish result as if it happens in your body. I'm doing the opposite. I'm telling you the dish result stays in the dish and that you should still eat the beet, but for a completely different and much more sensible reason than the headline gave you. The beet is cheap. It's pleasant. It's a genuinely nutritious whole vegetable with real antioxidant and anti-inflammatory chemistry. It fits inside every sensible eating pattern we have decent evidence for, and the downside of eating it is essentially zero. You don't need a cancer promise to justify putting a nutritious dollar vegetable on your plate. You just need it to be good food that you'll actually eat, and the beet clears that bar easily. That's the honest case for it, and it's a good case. It just isn't the headline's case. So let me put it on the plate, because mechanism with no plate action is just trivia, and I don't do trivia here. I'll tell you what I'd actually put on my own plate in the morning, and it's about as low effort as it gets. The simplest version, the one I reach for, is to take a small cooked beet, the kind you can buy already roasted and peeled in a vacuum pack in most supermarkets now, and grate it or chop it into a bowl of oatmeal or a bowl of plain yogurt. It goes sweet and earthy, and it turns the whole bowl a cheerful pink, and honestly the kids in your life will think it's a treat. If you don't want to cook at all, you can grate a small raw beet straight in. It's a little firmer and a little more earthy, but it works, and raw keeps more of those heat-sensitive compounds intact, which is a small point in its favor. A beet costs pennies. They're cheap year-round, they keep for weeks in the bottom of the fridge, and one of them is 2 or 3 breakfasts. No supplement, no powder, no juicer required. Grate, stir, eat. Now let me give you the second way, because variety is what makes a habit survive past Thursday. Stay with me, because this one is the morning ritual a lot of folks actually fall in love with. Blend it. Take a small cooked or raw beet, drop it in a blender with a handful of berries. Frozen is completely fine and cheaper. A splash of milk or water, maybe half a banana for body, and blend it into a morning smoothie. The berries do 2 jobs. They cut that earthy, almost soy-like taste that puts some people off beets, and they bring their own deep-colored pigments to the glass, so you're stacking purples. You get this gorgeous magenta drink that tastes like berries with a faint earthy backbone, and you genuinely won't believe there's a root vegetable in it. That's the one I'd start a beet-shy person on. The earthiness is the only real objection people have to beets, and a handful of berries in the blender erases it. Here's the honest plate note on the forms, because the supermarket gives you choices, and not all of them are equal, and I'd rather you spend your dollar well. Fresh and roast your own is lovely if you enjoy it, but it's not required. Those vacuum-packed cooked beets are perfectly good, and they save you the mess. Canned beets are fine too, and I mean that, but do one thing, rinse them under the tap before you use them, because the canning liquid carries extra salt. The one I'd steer you away from, as an everyday thing is pickled beets out of the jar, the sweet and sour kind your grandmother served, because they're usually swimming in added sugar and salt, and that turns a nutritious vegetable into more of a condiment. Have them if you love them, just not as your daily beet. And beet juice, the bottled kind, I get asked about constantly. It works, the pigments are in there. But here's my honest caution. When you juice a beet, you throw away the fiber and you concentrate the natural sugars. So a glass of beet juice is a real sugar load. If you're watching your blood sugar, eat the whole beet, don't drink it. The whole root with its fiber is the better deal nearly every time. Let me give you the cousin, because I promised you variety, and because not everyone takes to beets, and there's a beautiful purple option that brings a different pigment to the table entirely. It's the purple sweet potato. Now here's the lovely part, and the part that surprises people. The purple in a purple sweet potato is not betalains at all. It's a completely different pigment family called anthocyanins. Let me translate that in the same breath. Anthocyanins are the purple-blue pigments you also find in blueberries, in red cabbage, in blackberries, that deep bruised purple color. So a beet and a purple sweet potato are both purple, but they get there by totally different chemistry, which is a nice reminder that eat the colors isn't a slogan, it's actually shorthand for eating different families of these protective compounds. And the lab story for purple sweet potato rhymes with the beets. In petri dish and cell studies, the anthocyanins from purple sweet potato have shown those same antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects, and some anti-proliferative effects, which just means slowing how fast certain cancer cells multiply in a dish. And I have to say the same honest thing I said about beets, so you don't think I'm playing favorites. That's mostly preclinical too. It's mostly dish and cell work. The human cancer outcome evidence is thin here as well. So I hold the purple sweet potato exactly the way I hold the beet, as a genuinely nutritious, colorful, filling whole food with promising lab chemistry and not a shred of a cure attached to it. On the plate, the purple sweet potato is a gift for one specific reason. It's caffeine-free and it's filling, so it's a perfect every morning anchor for the folks who already drink enough coffee and don't want one more thing in the cup. Bake one the night before, or microwave it in about 8 minutes, and in the morning you split it open, mash it with a fork, maybe a little cinnamon on top, and you've got a warm, naturally sweet, brilliantly purple breakfast that keeps you full to lunch. Or mash it and stir it into your oatmeal. It costs about the same as a regular potato. It stores for weeks, and it's the gentlest possible introduction to eating these pigments daily. So between the beet and the purple sweet potato, you've got a red-purple option and a blue-purple option. Two pigment families, both cheap, both whole foods, and you can rotate them so neither one gets boring. I owe you one calm, reassuring detail before we go further, because it trips people up and I don't want anybody scared by their own breakfast. When some people eat beets, a day or so later they notice their urine, or sometimes their stool, has gone pink or reddish. There's a name for it, beeturia, which just means beet in the urine, and it's the betanin pigment, the same stuff that stained your fingers, passing through. Now hear me clearly, because this is exactly the kind of thing that sends a sensible person into a 2 a.m. internet spiral. It is harmless. It is not blood. It happens to a chunk of perfectly healthy people, partly down to how their gut handles that pigment. It is the beet leaving the building, nothing more. So if you start a beet habit and you see a little pink in the bowl, don't panic. It's the dye doing exactly what dye does. The one and only caveat I'll add, and I add it because honesty cuts both ways, is the obvious one. If you ever see blood in your urine or stool and you have not been eating beets, that is never something to wave off. That's a call your doctor today thing. But the beet pink, after a plate of beets, is just chemistry saying hello on the way out. I sat with a woman last winter, call her Lillian, around 64, who'd come to one of my talks and hung back afterward to ask me about exactly this, the beet headline. She'd lost a sister to cancer a few years back, and it had rattled her, the way it rattles all of us, and she'd been white-knuckling her way through the internet ever since, terrified of every food and chasing every cure. She'd started a beet smoothie every single morning, religiously, and she said it almost like a confession. I drink it because I read that it kills the cells. Is that crazy? And I want to tell you what I told Lillian because it's what I'm telling you. I said, the beet isn't crazy at all. The beet is a wonderful thing to drink in the morning. But I need you to drink it for the right reason, because the wrong reason will eat you alive. Drink it because it's a beautiful, cheap, nourishing food, and you've built a lovely, steady morning ritual out of it, and that ritual and that nourishment are genuinely good for the long arc of your health. Don't drink it as a weapon against a tumor, because it isn't one, and carrying it like a weapon will just keep you scared. And I watched her shoulders come down about 2 inches. She'd been holding that glass like a life raft. By the end, she was laughing about how her grandkids thought the pink smoothie was a milkshake. That's the part I think about. Not the chemistry. The shoulders coming down. The beat was the same beat either way. The story she told herself about it was the thing that was hurting her, and the honest story set her free to just enjoy a good breakfast. And let me be straight with you, because we've reached the place where I have to be, and it's the most important minute in this whole video. None of this is a cure. A beet does not kill cancer in your body the way that headline says it does. Eating a purple root every morning is not going to undo a tumor. It is not going to starve a disease out of a living person. And if you ever see a video or a bottle promising you that, close the tab and keep your wallet shut, because that person is selling something and it is not the truth. Here's the honest version, the one I'd stake my name on. What we have for beetroot is genuinely interesting laboratory chemistry, betalains and betanin doing antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and growth-slowing things to cancer cells in a dish. What we have for purple sweet potato is the same kind of promising in vitro work with its anthocyanins. And what we have for either of them, inside an actual human being, against actual cancer, is essentially nothing yet. That's it. That's the whole honest claim. These are nutritious, colorful, cheap, whole vegetables that belong on a sensible plate, and the case for eating them is that they're good food. Full stop, not that they're medicine. I won't dress it up bigger than that, because the day I start overselling you a vegetable is the day you should stop trusting me. Oh, and one quick line I owe you for completeness, and then I'm setting it down, because some of you have heard it. Yes, beets are also full of natural nitrates, and your body turns those into something called nitric oxide, which is the reason beets get talked about for blood pressure and circulation, and why some athletes drink beet juice before a workout. That's a real and separate story, and it belongs to a different conversation than this one. Today, we're on the pigments and the cell studies, the betalains, not the blood pressure, so I'm just naming it so you're not confused if you've seen it, and steering us right back to the plate. So here's your one thing this week, and it is genuinely just one thing, and it's about $1. On your next shop, buy one small pack of cooked beets. The vacuum-sealed ones are easiest, or a couple of raw beets if you'd rather, plus a small bag of frozen berries. That's the whole shopping list. Then tomorrow morning, do the easy version. Grate or chop a little beet into your oatmeal or yogurt, or blend it with a handful of those frozen berries into a pink morning smoothie. That's the assignment. One root, one bowl, or one glass, one morning, and then see if you actually like it. Because the best food habit in the world is worthless if it's miserable and you quit it by the weekend. If you like it, it's now just part of your life, and you didn't have to white-knuckle anything. If beets aren't your thing, swap in a baked purple sweet potato instead and get your morning purple that way. But pick one and start tomorrow. That's the step I'd start with myself, and the smoothie is the step I'd start a beet-shy friend on. Let me leave you with this, and I mean it calmly, not as a slogan. You hold one lever every single day, 3 times a day, and it's your plate. That is not nothing. You can't control your genes, you can't control everything that happens in your body, and I would never stand here and tell you that a purple root puts you in charge of cancer, because it doesn't. But you can control what goes in the bowl tomorrow morning, and you can do the small, cheap, pleasant, defensible thing consistently, for years, and you can do it without carrying any fear about it. That's the whole game. Eat the good food because it's good food. Bring anything you're wondering about to the people caring for you, alongside your team, never instead of them, and let them do the rest. Your last decades can be good ones, and a bright pink bowl of breakfast is a perfectly fine place to start that work. Keep it simple, keep it on your plate, and I'll see you right back here. Bring a friend who needs this. And tell me down in the comments whether you're a grated in your oatmeal person or a blended into a smoothie person, because I read every single one of these, and I'm genuinely curious which way you go.